Since 2020, California has lost hundreds of thousands of residents. In major cities, office vacancy rates have hit record highs. Small businesses are shutting down by the thousands. And budget deficits are growing into the billions. Once crowded downtown streets now sit unusually quiet. And in some neighborhoods, for lease signs stretch block after block. The question isn't whether something is changing, it's how deep the damage really goes. What if the crisis isn't just about housing prices or crime headlines? What if we're witnessing the early stages of something much bigger? A slow-motion unraveling of cities that were once considered untouchable. From tech hubs to agricultural centers, warning signs are flashing everywhere, and protests are no longer isolated incidents. They're becoming louder, more frequent, and more urgent. In today's video, we're breaking down 10 California cities that experts say are under serious strain, and why many believe it may already be too late to stop the collapse. Number 1. Los Angeles. Los Angeles was once the city of endless opportunity, Hollywood dreams, booming real estate, sunshine, and innovation. But today, beneath the palm trees and skyline views, something feels different. The city is under intense financial and social pressure, and the cracks are becoming harder to ignore. Housing costs have reached levels that many middle-class families simply cannot sustain. In some neighborhoods, rent consumes nearly 50% or more of household income. Think about that for a second. Half of everything you earn just to keep a roof over your head. That leaves little room for savings, emergencies, or long-term stability. When people start living paycheck to paycheck in one of the wealthiest states in America, it signals something deeper than just high prices. It signals structural imbalance. At the same time, homelessness has become one of the most visible and emotional issues facing the city. Tents line sidewalks in areas that were once thriving commercial districts. Local businesses report declining foot traffic, residents are growing frustrated, and protests demanding change are becoming louder. The pressure isn't coming from one direction, it's economic, social, and political all at once. Experts point to strict zoning laws, limited housing supply, and years of underbuilding as key factors behind the crisis. When supply stays low and demand stays high, prices don't just rise, they explode. And when wages don't keep up, families start leaving. Migration data shows thousands moving out of state in search of affordability. The real question is this: how long can a city survive when its working and middle class can no longer afford to live there? Because when that foundation weakens, everything else begins to shake. If you've made it this far, that means you care about what's really happening. So tell us in the comments, is Los Angeles collapsing or just transforming? We put serious research and effort into every video, so if you value honest breakdowns like this, take 1 second to subscribe. It's just one click, but it helps us more than you know. Number 2. San Francisco. For years, San Francisco was the unstoppable engine of innovation. It was the heart of Silicon Valley's expansion, the launchpad of billion-dollar startups, and one of the most expensive real estate markets in the world. But today, something has dramatically shifted. Downtown office buildings sit unusually quiet, with vacancy rates hitting historic highs. Entire floors remain dark, long after sunset. Not because it's late, but because no one is there. The remote work revolution changed everything. When tech companies allowed employees to work from anywhere, thousands left almost overnight, and when high earners move out, the impact spreads fast. Restaurants lose customers, retail shops close, public transit ridership drops, the city's tax base shrinks. It's like pulling bricks from the bottom of a tower. Eventually, the structure weakens. Small businesses have been especially hit hard. Many longtime stores have shut their doors, citing lower foot traffic and rising operating costs. Some major retailers have also scaled back operations, pointing to concerns over theft and safety. Whether perception or reality, the result is the same. Confidence is shaken, and when confidence falls, investment follows. Housing prices have fluctuated sharply, reflecting uncertainty. Luxury apartments that once had waiting lists are now offering incentives. That alone tells you something has changed. A city that once symbolized economic dominance is now facing difficult questions about sustainability and long-term stability. So here's the deeper issue. Can San Francisco reinvent itself fast enough? Or has the combination of remote work, high costs, and social tension created a structural decline that won't be easy to reverse? Because once businesses and residents leave at scale, bringing them back is far harder than anyone expects. Now we want to hear from you. If you lived in San Francisco, would you stay or leave? Drop your honest answer in the comments. We put serious time and research into every breakdown like this, so if you appreciate real analysis, take 1 second to subscribe. It's just one click, but it helps this channel grow massively. Number 2, Oakland. Just across the bay from San Francisco, Oakland has been facing its own storm, and for many residents and business owners, the pressure feels even more intense. Once known for its vibrant art scene and strong local culture, parts of the city are now struggling with rising crime concerns, business closures, and growing budget deficits. And when small businesses begin shutting down, one after another, it's usually a warning sign that something deeper is wrong. In recent years, several retailers have reduced operations or closed entirely, citing theft, vandalism, and declining customer traffic. Whether every headline tells the full story or not, perception alone can reshape a city's future. When customers feel unsafe, they stop coming. When store owners feel unsupported, they relocate. And when jobs disappear, families start packing up too. It becomes a chain reaction that's difficult to stop once it gains momentum. At the same time, Oakland has struggled with police staffing shortages and financial strain. A shrinking tax base means fewer resources to fund public services, which then creates more pressure on already stretched systems. It's a cycle that feeds itself. Less revenue, fewer services, more frustration. Residents have voiced their anger in public meetings and protests, demanding safer streets and smarter policies. The tension is real, and the frustration is growing louder. The big question now is whether Oakland can restore stability before long-term damage sets in. Because when confidence leaves a city, rebuilding it is one of the hardest challenges any community can face. We've spent hours researching and breaking this down. Now it's your turn. Do you think Oakland can turn this around, or is the damage already too deep? If you value this kind of real, effort-driven content, take 1 second to subscribe. It's just one click, but it keeps this channel alive and growing. Number 4, Sacramento. As the capital of California, Sacramento has long been viewed as stable, a government-driven economy with steady jobs and reliable growth. But even here, warning signs are beginning to flash. When a city depends heavily on state funding and public sector employment, any financial slowdown at the top quickly trickles down to the streets below. California has faced significant budget shortfalls in recent years, and when deficits grow into the billions, spending cuts become unavoidable. That means delayed infrastructure projects, reduced public services, and tighter funding for community programs. For residents, this doesn't always show up as a dramatic collapse. It shows up as slower repairs, longer wait times, and growing frustration. It's a quiet strain, but it's real. At the same time, Sacramento has experienced rapid housing demand as people moved inland seeking lower prices compared to coastal cities. But as demand surged, so did home prices and rent. What was once considered affordable California is no longer easy for middle-income families. When wages remain steady but living costs climb, financial pressure builds beneath the surface. Local businesses also feel the impact when government spending tightens. Contractors, service providers, and small shops that rely on steady public sector customers begin to see reduced activity. And when economic confidence weakens, investment slows. The deeper concern is this: if even the state's capital, backed by government jobs, is feeling the pressure, what does that say about the broader system? Sacramento may not be collapsing overnight, but the budget squeeze is tightening, and when funding shrinks while costs rise, something eventually has to give. We've dug deep into the data to bring you this breakdown. Now we want your perspective. Is Sacramento stable, or is it quietly struggling? Drop your thoughts below. If you respect the effort behind real research, take 1 second to subscribe. It's just one click, but it means everything to this channel. Number 5, San Diego. At first glance, San Diego still looks like a dream. Beautiful beaches, year-round sunshine, a strong military presence, and a thriving tourism industry. But beneath the postcard views, serious economic pressure is building. And for many residents, the cost of staying in paradise is becoming overwhelming. Housing prices in San Diego have surged dramatically over the past few years. What was once considered slightly more affordable than Los Angeles is now nearly just as expensive. Renters are feeling the squeeze, and first-time homebuyers are finding themselves locked out of the market entirely. When monthly mortgage payments and rents climb faster than wages, it creates a silent crisis, one that doesn't always make headlines but affects everyday families deeply. Tourism, one of the city's economic backbones, is also vulnerable. When economic uncertainty rises or travel slows, hotels, restaurants, and local attractions immediately feel the impact. A city dependent on visitors can quickly experience revenue drops during downturns, add rising operational costs and infrastructure strain, and the pressure multiplies. There's also growing stress on public services, especially as population growth and border-related challenges increase demand. More people require more housing, transportation, healthcare, and public safety resources. But when funding doesn't keep pace, cracks begin to show. The real concern isn't whether San Diego still looks beautiful, it's whether the underlying foundation is stable. Because even paradise can struggle when affordability disappears and economic balance starts to tip. We've invested serious time researching every detail in this series. Now we want your voice. Is San Diego still thriving, or is the pressure becoming too much? Tell us below. If you value honest, effort-driven content like this, take 1 second to subscribe. It's just one click, but it keeps this channel moving forward. Number 6. Fresno. Unlike the coastal cities, Fresno doesn't rely on tech giants or tourism. It sits in the heart of California's agricultural engine, a region that feeds millions across the country. But that foundation is now under serious threat. And the biggest reason is something you can't always see: water. Fresno depends heavily on farming, and farming depends entirely on stable water supply. Years of drought, combined with groundwater restrictions and climate shifts, have created growing uncertainty for local growers. When water becomes scarce, crop yields drop. When crop yields drop, jobs disappear. And when jobs disappear in a region already struggling with lower than average incomes, the impact spreads quickly through the entire community. Unemployment rates in the Central Valley have historically been higher than the state average. Add inflation, rising housing costs, and agricultural instability, and families begin to feel trapped. Unlike residents in coastal cities, moving isn't always easy when economic opportunities are limited. Climate scientists warn that drought cycles in California are becoming more extreme and unpredictable. That means Fresno's challenges may not be temporary, they could become structural. If agriculture weakens long-term, the city's economic backbone weakens with it. The real concern is this: what happens when the region that helps feed America can't rely on its own natural resources anymore? Fresno may not dominate headlines like Los Angeles or San Francisco, but the pressure building here is just as serious and potentially more dangerous in the long run. We researched these cities deeply before bringing them to you, and now we want your perspective. Is Fresno facing a temporary drought crisis or something much bigger? Share your honest thoughts below. If you appreciate the effort and real analysis behind these videos, take 1 second to subscribe. It's just one click, but it truly helps this channel grow. Number 7. Stockton. Stockton has been here before. In 2012, it became one of the largest U.S. cities to declare bankruptcy, a shocking moment that exposed just how fragile rapid growth can be, while the city eventually recovered on paper. The deeper question remains: did it truly rebuild a stronger foundation, or just patch the cracks? During the housing boom of the early 2000s, Stockton expanded quickly. New developments stretched across the city, fueled by easy credit and rising home values. But when the housing market collapsed, property values crashed hard. Foreclosures surged, tax revenue plummeted, and the city found itself drowning in debt it couldn't sustain. Bankruptcy wasn't just a headline, it was a wake-up call. Today, Stockton faces a new wave of pressure. Housing prices surged again during the pandemic as buyers fled more expensive coastal cities. But with interest rates rising and affordability tightening, there are growing concerns about another correction. When a city's economy leans heavily on real estate cycles, volatility becomes a constant threat. Unemployment and income levels have also historically lagged behind the state average. That makes Stockton especially vulnerable during economic slowdowns. if job growth stalls while living costs continue. Rising financial stress spreads quickly through households and local businesses. The bigger concern is resilience. Has Stockton built enough economic diversity to withstand another downturn, or is it still riding waves it cannot fully control? Because when history leaves scars, it also leaves lessons, and ignoring them can be costly. We put serious time into uncovering stories most channels skip. Now we want your voice. Do you think Stockton learned from its past, or is history repeating itself? If you value deep, effort-driven content like this, take 1 second to subscribe. It's just one click, but it makes a massive difference for us. Number 8. Bakersfield. For decades, Bakersfield has relied heavily on one industry, oil. The city sits at the center of California's energy production, providing thousands of stable, blue-collar jobs that supported entire communities. But as the world shifts toward renewable energy and stricter environmental regulations, Bakersfield finds itself in uncertain territory. And when your local economy depends on one major sector, change doesn't just hurt, it shakes everything. California has aggressively pushed toward green energy goals, reducing reliance on fossil fuels. While that may benefit the environment long-term, the short-term economic impact on oil-dependent cities can be severe. Fewer drilling permits, production slowdowns, and regulatory costs directly affect employment. When energy companies scale back, workers feel it first, and then small businesses feel it next. Local restaurants, service providers, equipment suppliers, many rely on steady oil industry income circulating through the community. If those paychecks shrink, spending shrinks, and when spending shrinks, growth stalls. Bakersfield has attempted to diversify its economy, but economic transitions take time, sometimes decades. In the meantime, families face uncertainty. Housing demand fluctuates with oil prices. Job stability becomes unpredictable, and younger generations may choose to leave in search of more secure industries. The real issue isn't whether clean energy is coming, it clearly is. The issue is whether Bakersfield can adapt fast enough before economic instability deepens. Because when an entire city is tied to one industry, any major shift can feel like an earthquake even without the ground moving. We dive deep into stories that truly matter. Now we want to hear from you. Can Bakersfield successfully transition, or will the energy shift hit too hard? If you respect the research and effort behind these videos, take 1 second to subscribe. It's just one click, but it helps us continue bringing you powerful insights. Number 9. Riverside. During the pandemic, Riverside became a symbol of escape. Thousands of families left expensive coastal cities searching for more space, lower prices, and a quieter lifestyle. For a moment, it looked like Riverside had won. Home prices surged. New buyers flooded the market. Suburban neighborhoods expanded rapidly. But now, that fast growth is revealing its own risks. When demand exploded, housing prices climbed just as quickly. Many buyers stretched their budgets, locking in large mortgages at rising home values. Then, interest rates increased. Monthly payments jumped for new buyers, and affordability tightened across the board. Suddenly, what once felt like a smart move began to feel financially heavy. Riverside also depends heavily on commuters. Many residents travel long distances to jobs in Los Angeles or Orange County, but with fuel costs, traffic congestion, and remote work reshaping employment patterns, that commuter-based model is under pressure. If fewer people need to live within driving distance of major job centers, housing demand could soften. And when demand slows, after a rapid boom, price corrections often follow. Infrastructure has struggled to keep pace with rapid population growth. More residents mean more strain on roads, schools, healthcare, and public services. When expansion happens too quickly, cities can find themselves playing catch-up for years. The real concern is this: was Riverside's growth sustainable, or was it fueled by temporary circumstances? Because when a housing market rises too fast, stability becomes fragile. And if economic conditions tighten further, suburban cities like Riverside could feel the shock more than anyone expected. We carefully analyze trends most people overlook. Now we want your take. Is Riverside's boom turning into a bust? Share your honest opinion below. If you appreciate the time and effort behind this research, take 1 second to subscribe. It's just one click, but it truly keeps this channel growing. Number 10. San Bernardino. San Bernardino has struggled with economic instability for years, and unlike some cities facing sudden shocks, its challenges are deeply rooted. Once a strong logistics and manufacturing hub, the city experienced major downturns as industries declined and jobs disappeared. In 2012, San Bernardino filed for bankruptcy, a move that highlighted just how severe the financial strain had become. Although the city officially exited bankruptcy, many of the underlying issues never completely went away. Unemployment rates have historically remained higher than the state average. Household incomes lag behind many neighboring areas, and when inflation pushes up the cost of food, gas, rent, and utilities, lower-income communities feel the pressure first and hardest. For many families, financial breathing room simply doesn't exist. Infrastructure is another ongoing concern. Aging roads, limited investment, and stretched public services make recovery slow and uneven. When a city lacks strong tax revenue growth, it struggles to reinvest in itself, and without reinvestment, attracting new businesses becomes more difficult. It becomes a repeating cycle. Limited opportunity leads to slow growth, which then limits opportunity even further. San Bernardino does benefit from its strategic location as a logistics hub, especially with the growth of warehouse and distribution centers. But those industries often bring lower-wage jobs compared to the rising cost of living across Southern California. That imbalance creates long-term vulnerability. The real question is whether San Bernardino can finally break this cycle, or whether structural poverty and limited diversification will continue to hold it back. Because when economic challenges stretch across decades, recovery requires more than temporary fixes. It requires transformation. We pour real-time research and effort into every video now. We want your honest voice. Which of these cities do you think is facing the most serious trouble? If you believe in content that actually digs deeper, take 1 second to subscribe. It's just one click, but it helps us keep bringing you powerful stories. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, a pattern becomes clear. From Los Angeles to San Francisco, from Fresno to San Bernardino, each city is facing different symptoms, but many of them share the same underlying pressures: rising living costs, shrinking affordability, economic transitions, strained public services, and growing frustration among residents. This isn't one isolated crisis. It's a collection of stress points building at the same time. But here's the important distinction. Decline doesn't always mean destruction. Sometimes it signals transformation. California is still home to one of the largest economies in the world. It still leads in technology, agriculture, entertainment, and innovation. The question isn't whether the state has potential. It clearly does. The question is whether leadership, policy, and local communities can adapt fast enough to stabilize these cities before long-term damage sets in. History shows us that major cities can recover, but recovery requires bold decisions, economic balance, and public trust. And right now, trust is being tested. Protests are growing louder. Residents are voting with their feet. Businesses are reconsidering investments. So is it truly too late for California, or are we witnessing the painful early stages of a reset? The future of these 10 cities won't be decided overnight, but the warning signs are flashing, and ignoring them could be the biggest mistake of all.